Welcome to Precinct 444, a podcast by the National Law Enforcement Museum located in Washington, D.C. Here at Precinct 444, we cover a wide range of topics surrounding American law enforcement through our 4 core shows and bonus content. Today and in future bonus episodes, we will feature an artist from our current exhibit, Officers as Artists, so they can talk about their law enforcement careers and art interests. Be sure to check back every other week as we publish more episodes featuring an artist. And remember, our core shows are released every other Wednesday, so don't miss those. Thanks for listening, stay safe, and come see us in Washington, D.C.
All right, I am here with one of our artists from the Officers as Artists exhibit. We have Antionette Alcazar with us today. So welcome to the National Law Enforcement Museum in Precinct 444.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here.
Antionette, if you could introduce yourself to us, tell us your name, the agency that you worked for, and how long you were serving in law enforcement.
My name is Antionette Alcazar. I am a sergeant of police with the Chicago Police Department. I have been in law enforcement for almost 19 years. I've been on patrol my entire career.
What kind of art do you make? Tell us about the piece that you have in our exhibit here that's Officers as Artists.
Okay. Well, I predominantly paint. I use my favorite medium is acrylic on canvas. I do dabble here and there with all kinds of stuff, like doing some clay sculptures, kind of upcycled cardboard things. I play around with all kinds of things, but primarily I paint with acrylics, sometimes oils or watercolor, but it's acrylics. The piece that is being exhibited here is very dear to my heart because I painted it in the hopes to demonstrate my colleagues that the work that they do is so astronomically important, that the sacrifices that they make to take care of our communities are just something that a gratitude I feel towards them, even though I serve, but I admire them, I respect them, and they should always remember who they are. And so that piece portrays someone guarding the city of Chicago in a very, protective way with a lot of integrity and honor and care and kind of just overlooking the city, which is what my colleagues do every single day when they put on that uniform and hit the streets to patrol.
What inspired you to start creating?
It was a long time ago. I want to say about 24, 25 years ago, when one of my twins, she was 4 years old at the time, she was diagnosed with leukemia. And it was a parent's worst nightmare, and I was going through a lot, emotionally. And one of the social workers at the hospital kind of said, "Hey, you're really not talking very much, and here's like this artist journal and some pastels, and sometimes like doodling or putting things on paper will help you process and get all those things out." She was concerned about me.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to do that and just kind of scribble, and it felt really good when I put it all down and let it out, because I would choose colors that represented my very strong emotions. And that was the beginning of it all. And I realized that it is very, very therapeutic. That I could kind of stand back and just process, things that I would see or witness. And obviously it became much more intense with the daily exposures out on the street on patrol. Some of the horrific things that we see, hear, and we kind of repress everything and hold it all back, but there has to be a way for it to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I encourage all of my coworkers to always find something, planting, music, anything to let it all out. Because it's not good, as we know.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not good. And we have to be able to be strong for everyone else out there. So it is what replenished me and gave me that fortitude to go back out. So I can come in, put it all down, create. Sometimes some of the paintings are a little horrific. Some of them are quite, hopefully they evoke like a sense of peace and beauty. But it's all out there, whatever it is, no matter what it is. It's hundreds and hundreds of pieces, and it's all out there. And that's what started my creativity and has kept it going. And now I love it, and I can't imagine living without doing that every day.
You kind of covered my question of if creating helps you to cope with the stress of the job. Like, how would you say that, like, are you coming home from work and painting after you've had a really tough day at the office?
Sometimes it is something that I can't wait to get home. And so I will get home and I'll change and I'll walk into my studio. I'm very fortunate to have a studio at home. And I just get in there, I turn on some music, and I just lose myself in the process of creating art. I mean, I do photography also. I do poetry, so I write a lot. I have a lot of police-themed poems. But yeah, that's what I do. I come, unless it's very, very late and I'm exhausted and I just have to go straight to bed.
And do you find that your identity as an officer influences your identity as an artist, or are they fairly separate?
Yeah, they're intertwined for sure. I can see that there are ways that I have been at times separate, but I guess I never really saw myself as an artist, right? Because it was a therapy. But then when I became a police officer and my pieces, like I have a lot of colleagues who collect my pieces and purchase my art, or I gift that, to them. It became clear that those two things were very much intertwined, and that drive to create art is, like I said, fueled by my own need to process the pain or the stress. It is what produces the pieces that it produces. So they're very much intertwined.
Oh yeah. And what led you to choose your specific medium? And you've mentioned you do multiple different things, but painting tends to be the one that you continue to go back to. What made you choose painting over one of the other subjects that you may?
That is a very good and interesting question. I think I'm going to ponder on that for a long time, like even after I leave here. But I think I'm not sure. I just think I don't know. I'm just drawn to it. Maybe because I can do it. I don't know. I never took any I never had any formal training. So it's just kind of like I started out with pastels, and it's kind of like what I transitioned into. Like, I think I'm going to try this. And once I tried it, it was like the colors are very vibrant. Acrylics dry very quickly. So I've tried oils, and those are like really slow to dry. And I didn't have the time or patience for that. I'm like, no, like this has to be done, and it has to dry, and it has to be ready. So yeah, that's kind of like all I got on that one, because
that's okay. Yeah. And then if you could encourage any of your colleagues to take up something creative, what would you say?
Oh, anything. I do. I constantly, well, especially now, like my position as a sergeant, I have to look out for my officers, and I definitely encourage them to do anything creative: painting, drawing, music, planting, like just touching the dirt and planting something, anything that can soothe our soul and our mind and kind of release all of the pain. There's a lot of pain in our profession.
Do you have a particular piece that you've done, whether it's the one on exhibit or not, that you feel has been the most therapeutic for you to do?
I could never measure it that way and feel like one piece is more therapeutic than another, because they are all different and expressing a very different moment or process. I have a really big piece, for example, that I made with all the different eyes. It's a set of eyes, multiple sets of eyes. And inside each eye is what some of the scenes that we observe as officers. So to me, that's like a voice. This is a voice for our profession. This is what we see, because people forget. We are judged a lot. And it's very harsh judgment. And, it's a small way of hoping that someone will stop and think, hey, these people deal with a lot. They see a lot, especially things that involve children. So like, for example, that piece is therapeutic in the sense that here it is. Remember, this is what they do. So don't forget. There's pieces that I have that, like I said, there might be considered a little tragic, but just pieces of coming apart, because even if it's for a few minutes, sometimes I feel like every officer goes home and says, oh my God, that was the worst day of my life. And I can't bear this heavy pain. And it just, the feeling, the screaming I heard, the sense, all of our senses are bombarded, and we have to maintain firm and strong for everyone else that's falling apart, so you can smell the blood, you can hear the screams, and you just, so pieces that depict things like that are therapeutic, because now it's like, yes, that is what I went through, but I gathered myself. I'm okay now, and I was able to help someone today.
And it's a way to kind of process it and let it out instead of just, what was that I just...
Or this is horrible, and this hurts. It just, no, now there's a creation. Now there's a creation, and I know that when other officers look at that, can be like, yeah, I have felt like that many a times when I came home. And yeah, we all feel like that. And it's okay to talk about it. I may not, and this is my way of talking about it, but hopefully they'll be able to talk about it, and it'll evoke something like, it will be like the beginning, the spark of talking about it.
And kind of my final question that I've been giving to all of these artists that I'm doing these interviews with, you have a piece of artwork in an exhibit in a museum that's here in downtown DC, where we're right down the street from all these big art museums that have works by these huge famous painters, and you're in an art gallery not too far from that, in a national exhibit. What does that mean to you as an artist and a police officer? Or just, what does that mean to you in general?
It is a moment of pride and gratitude and humbleness, an opportunity for people to see and experience. It is quite a huge accomplishment for me personally, because like I said, I've never had any formal training, and it just, I joke about it, and I tell, I told people that have bought pieces of mine, I was like, my art just got a little elevated. But it's something that I hope my family, my daughters especially, my 3 angels of my heart, and my granddaughter and my grandson will be proud of, and something that, leaving a little mark.
Absolutely.
In this big world, a little tiny mark, but I'm just grateful. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful that it's here for people to see, and hopefully it will evoke and provoke some thoughts and feelings, and maybe a little bit of gratitude.
Absolutely. And we're grateful to have your piece here on exhibit in the Officers as Artists exhibit. The exhibit is open from September 26th of 2024 through August 30th of 2025. So we hope that our listeners here will come visit it at the museum and take a look at Antionette's piece and the others that are here at the museum for this next year. Antionette, thank you so much for taking the time, for traveling all the way to Chicago and actually talking to me in the studio in person, and for being here, for being part of this exhibit, and for sharing your creative work.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you, and great honor.
Thanks for listening to this special bonus content featuring an artist from the museum's temporary exhibit, Officers as Artists, where the artworks of 50 law enforcement officers from all over the country are on display now through August 30th of this year. And remember, our core shows are released every other Wednesday, so don't miss those. Thanks for listening, stay safe, and come see us in Washington, D.C. Please subscribe to Precinct 444 on your favorite podcasting platform to stay connected and to receive our latest content as soon as it drops. We would love to hear from you. Send in your questions, comments, and feedback to precinct444@nleomf.org. You can help us make our content even better. The National Law Enforcement Museum is located at 444 East Street Northwest in Washington, D.C., and is dedicated to telling the story of American law enforcement. We expand and enrich the relationship between law enforcement and the community through educational journeys, immersive exhibitions, and insightful programs. Find us online at lawenforcementmuseum.org and stay tuned for more podcast content from Precinct 444. Until next time, stay safe. We'll see you at the Precinct.